The decisions they made about you are hurting them. What is the person you love feeling right now? Close your eyes for just a moment. Feel the weight of that question settle into your chest. Because what I'm about to tell you isn't cold psychology or distant theory. It's the raw, breathing truth about what happens inside someone's soul when they walk away from a love that refuses to let them go. Right now, in this very moment, the person you're thinking about is drowning in a silence they created. They thought distance would feel like freedom. They believed walking away would feel like strength. They convinced themselves that choosing absence was choosing peace. But here's what's actually happening. Every quiet moment betrays them. Every still night exposes them. Every empty space whispers your name back to them in echoes they can't escape. They're learning something they didn't want to know. That you can close a door, but you can't lock out what lives in your bones. That you can choose against someone, but you can't choose against what they awakened in you. And the cruelest truth of all, the heart doesn't forget just because the mind decides to leave. But what they're feeling right now is something they never expected, and it's about to break them open. Right now, your absence is the loudest presence in their life. In the hollow hours between midnight and dawn, when the world goes silent and souls speak their truth, you return to them, not as a memory, as a longing, as an ache that has no name. They remember things they wish they could forget. The way your laugh changed the temperature of a room. The way your silence understood them better than anyone's words. The way you saw through their walls without ever making them feel exposed. And that space they thought would bring them clarity? It's suffocating them with emptiness. There's a kind of pain that doesn't scream. It whispers. It settles into your chest like winter fog and refuses to lift. Your person is living in that fog now. They thought they were protecting themselves by leaving, but protection feels a lot like prison when you're locked away from the one thing that made you feel alive. They're discovering that some connections don't fade with distance. Some people don't disappear just because you stop looking at them. You became part of their breathing, and now every breath reminds them of what they lost, and this realization is leading them somewhere they're terrified to go. They're haunted by a regret that moves like slow water, not the kind that crashes and breaks, the kind that seeps in quietly and fills every crack until there's nowhere left to hide. They're starting to see it now, in fragments that cut like glass. They ran when they should have stayed. They chose pride when they should have chosen vulnerability. They built walls when you were offering bridges. And now reaching out feels like standing at the edge of a cliff, knowing that one step could either save them or shatter them completely. So they don't move. They stay frozen in the space between wanting and fearing, between loving and losing. They carry your name in their throat like something they can't swallow and can't speak. They wear their decision like a coat that no longer fits, but they don't know how to take it off without admitting they were wrong. And that admission? It terrifies them, because saying, "I made a mistake," means confessing how deeply you mattered, how completely you changed them, how painfully they miss what they destroyed. But there's something else happening beneath all this fear, something they can't see yet, but you need to understand. They miss you in ways that don't have words, in the space between heartbeats, in the pause before sleep comes, in the moment when something beautiful happens and their first instinct is still to turn toward where you used to be, and finding only emptiness that breaks them a little more each time. Here's what I need you to hear. If this is touching something deep in you right now, if you feel seen in these words, do something for me. Press that like button. Not for me, but for you. As a mark that says, I was here. I felt this. I'm not alone in this pain. And subscribe, because you deserve to understand the hidden language of hearts that break and heal and break again. Turn on those notifications, because what comes next will help you see this pain as something more than just suffering. It can be your awakening. Now listen closely. Your person is caught in a war between their longing and their fear. They want to reach out, but terror holds their hand back. What if you've moved on? What if the door they closed is locked from your side now? What if they bare their soul and find that you no longer feel what they feel. So they wait in this torture, this exquisite agony of wanting someone they chose to lose. But what they don't understand yet is this pain is actually trying to teach them something about love they've been running from their entire life. You weren't just someone they loved. You were a mirror held up to their soul. You reflected back the parts of themselves they'd spent years hiding. The tenderness they called weakness. The depth they called too much. The rawness they'd learned to bury. You didn't just love them. You saw them. And being seen that completely is terrifying when you've spent your life in shadows. So they ran, not from you, from themselves, from the person they could become if they stopped being afraid, from the love they could give if they stopped protecting their heart like it was made of glass instead of fire. And now, without you there holding up that mirror, they're left staring at walls that show them nothing. They're forced to face the emptiness they created, the silence they chose, the love they abandoned because it asked them to be brave. They're realizing that the discomfort they felt wasn't about you being wrong for them. It was about you being so right for them that it exposed every way they'd been living half alive. And this mirror you held, this truth you showed them, it created something in them that won't stay buried anymore. They're understanding what they lost, but not all at once. Loss reveals itself in moments, when joy comes and you're not there to multiply it, when sorrow comes and you're not there to soften it, when life unfolds and every unfolding reminds them that you should be there, witnessing, sharing, understanding. They're learning that what they lost wasn't just your presence. It was a sanctuary, a place where they could unfold without fear, a space where their messiahs was met with grace, a home they didn't know they built until they burned it down. And now they're searching for that feeling everywhere, in new faces that don't hold the same light, in conversations that skim the surface instead of diving deep, in connections that feel like echoes of something real, but never quite reach it. Nothing feels the same. Nothing touches them the way you did. And this absence is teaching them something profound about the nature of irreplaceable things. That some connections aren't just special, they're singular. That some people don't just matter, they mark you. They change the shape of your soul. And you can't go back to who you were before them, no matter how hard you try. But here's what you need to understand about your own journey through this pain. Their pain doesn't mean you should wait at the door they closed. Their regret doesn't mean you should put your healing on hold. Their realization doesn't create an obligation in your heart. Listen to this carefully. You are not the keeper of their lessons. You are not responsible for their awakening. You are not required to be their redemption, just because they're finally ready to see what they couldn't see before. You can love them and still choose yourself. You can understand their struggle and still honor your own path. You can hold space for their pain and still refuse to carry it. Because here's the truth that will set you free. Sometimes people learn through loss what they refuse to learn through love. Sometimes the lesson comes after the person leaves. Sometimes goodbye is the only teacher that finally gets through. And their journey toward understanding isn't yours to complete. It's theirs. What's yours is this: to know that you loved fully, to know that you showed up with your whole heart, to know that what you offered was real and rare and radiant. Their inability to receive it doesn't diminish its value. Their fear doesn't erase your courage. Their leaving doesn't make you less worthy of staying. So what does this mean for you? Right here, right now. Here's your truth. The impact you had on them lies deeper than they can admit. You didn't just pass through their life. You altered it. You showed them what it feels like to be truly met. You gave them a taste of connection so real that everything else will feel like hunger that doesn't fade. Even if they never speak your name again, you're written into them now, in the way they'll search for your kindness in others, in the way they'll measure every connection against what you gave them, in the way they'll carry the ghost of what could have been if they'd been brave enough to stay. But this truth isn't about them anymore. It's about you. It's about recognizing that you don't need their return to know you were enough. You don't need their apology to begin your healing. You don't need their validation to confirm what your heart already knows. You mattered. You matter still. And whatever comes next, whether they find their courage or stay lost in their fear, whether paths cross again or remain forever separate, you will be okay. More than okay. You will be whole because the love you gave wasn't wasted. It was proof of your capacity to feel deeply, love bravely, show up fully, and that capacity, it's yours to keep. Welcome to Psychology Routine. If these truths are touching the places in you that needed to be seen, subscribe and turn on notifications. Because every word here is meant to remind you that your heart, even in its breaking, is more powerful than you know.